ready.
Welcome to another episode of Buff in the Rough. In part one of this two-part interview, we'll talk with Angie and Jason Vandergrift about their impressive accomplishments, favorite hounds, the origins of the National Hunting Beagle Association, and a lot more. Help me welcome the Vandergrifts to the program. Well, hey Angie and Jason, how are y'all doing?
Hey Sam, how are you?
I'm doing
Hey,
just.
Sam.
I'm just
Doing good this evening.
I'm so excited to have y'all on. This is kind of a first for us, is to have on a power couple like you guys are, and I'm just so delighted to be on with you. And I think people are going to find you guys very, very interesting. So thank you so much up front for your time. But for people that maybe don't know Angie and Jason Vandergrift, could each of you just take a little bit of time to tell us about yourselves and about how you got into this beagle world? And you can even talk about what you do outside of beagling if you want to, but just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, Sam. Well, I'm Jason Vandergrift, and I've been in this for probably 30 years now. Back in 92, I had just some regular gun dogs. It was above average gun dogs, and my dad and Dale Prunty was like the best of friends, and always coon hunted together. And Dale come to my house one day, and I was just going out to run the dogs, and he's like, "Hey," he said, "I think I'm going to start a beagle club." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, competition beagles." And he said, "You be interested in that?" And, at the time, I'm a 17-year-old kid, and I'm like, "Well, I don't know nothing about that, Dale." So he started a club, and we started having, a few trial, fun hunts and stuff. And then I was like, "Man, this is all right." So I started going to, a few hunts with this dog that I had. And, man, she was just winning everywhere. And her name, I called her Jason's May. Mm-hmm. And she, like I said, she just was winning everything. I'm like, man, this winning's pretty easy in this stuff. Then, you get up to the champions and grands. Then you get to a little better dog with her. And it just got to the point that, I was like, okay, I got to run this dog more than one day a week. And then from there on, Dale's like, man, he said, you put a lot of time in dogs. And then me and Dale just clicked. And another guy in there was like Marshall Collins, and them guys taught us a lot. And like I said, we did a lot of pleasure, hunts like here at my house on the weekends. Mm-hmm. All of our club members would get together and we'd have like little pleasure hunts. And, I learned a lot from that.
And Sam, for me, I got into it because Jason and I had just started dating. I was young as well, and he started hunting a lot with Dale, going to the hunts, and it was every weekend, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why are you going all the time and every weekend? And he was like, why don't you come with me? And I said, I'm not going over there and hunt with a bunch of guys. And he was like, well, there's women that, show up at the club. And I said, I'll go. I'll try it one time. Well, I tried it, and I was hooked from there. But met probably two of the best friends that I think I've ever had in my life, and Seal Hanning and Debbie, and it just kind of started from there. But Dale's the one that got us started, and then with the club, Marshall Collins was there, of course, and can't forget to mention Clyde Hanning. Those three were the bread and butter of the club. So from there, we just started traveling, and we were hooked.
So you both were hooked right from the start, it sounds like. Just a love of the hounds, love being outside, love the competition.
It took her about 6 months to get on board.
Well, 6 months is nothing. I mean, that's not a lot of time.
Yeah. And seriously, when she said we just got together, it was only like 3 months. And she's like, you're never around and I'm not seeing you. And I'm like, come to the hunts with me. It's fun. And then, like you said, once she went to the first one, and then, everybody accepted her in just like me. And it was game on. I mean, there was a group of us, and we traveled every weekend somewhere.
Well, I'm really curious about this next question I want to ask you about. And part of it is both of you guys have been extremely successful. I mean, at the highest levels, and we'll drill into that here in a minute. But you had to get there. It didn't just happen, or it doesn't normally just happen very quickly. It takes a little time, and you learn, and you have mentors and folks that influence you over the years. You mentioned some Dale Prunty. I've heard his name come up. Both of you mentioned him. Who are some of the people that had those big influences on you, especially early on, that helped you figure things out?
Sam, for me, it was Del Prunty all the way. He was like a first, second, third father to me, I guess you could say. He not only did he teach me the rules, and he taught me what to do out there in the field when I started running dogs. And I would call him all the time and ask him about different rules and different things that happen in the hunt. He also is the one that got me involved in the show. He taught me how to show a dog. He taught me how to get a dog ready. He pushed me to become a show judge, which I would have never thought that I could do or would want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it was kind of ironic. He said, Angie said, get the coffee ready. I'm coming down. And he said, we're going to go over this show judge information. And he said, we're going to study. He said, because I think you'd be a good show judge. I'll let Jason tell you a little bit about his history.
Okay.
And just like, Angie said, Dale Prunty was the one that started pretty much everything here in West Virginia. And like I said, we all lived within 10 minutes of each other. And we'd run in the evenings, and Dale would bring scorecards and teach me how to judge and this and that. And so me and a couple of my other friends that was just getting into it, we take scorecards, and then sometimes we'd run. Well, Angie'd go with Dale in the evenings and run with, him, and he'd break down and make her judge on a cash, just them two. Well, then it got to the point that when it come back to me and my wife was running together, Sam,
mm-hmm.
I would try to teach her new rules that wasn't in there, and she's like, I think this is not right. Then she'd come straight home and call Dale, and Dale be like, well, he was just trying to cheat you, Angie. But no, between Dale Prunty, like I said, and Marshall Collins and Clyde Hannings, they was pretty much the backbone of us, teaching us everything that we learned at the time when we was getting into it. Because Dale had probably about a year on us of learning the rules and everything, and then, he started our club, and like I said, we was doing the little weekend pleasure hunts here at our house. We'd have a cookout and then draw cast out just for pleasure hunting. And then it got to the point that we would put like $100 up for whoever, had the highest score out of all the fun hunts of the evening. And it got to the point, it was a bunch of fun. And it just went from there. And once we all learned how to judge, then Dale's like, you're judging every weekend. And then you're stuck with it after that.
Well,
those are my three mentors.
Well, thank you for sharing. I think it's important to kind of give people credit. I just really feel strongly about that. So thank you for talking to us a little bit more about those big influences on you. All right, I'm going to ask you guys a couple specific ones. So this one's specifically for Jason. So this is a fun one. Is it true that you may be the winningest handler in UKC history? And I've heard that you've won 6 Big 5 hunts and countless others. I'm not sure if this is tracked or not, but I'm sure it is. I'm sure somebody tracks it. But I've heard people say it, so if somebody's out there talking about you, it must be true, right? I mean, I have to accept it as truth. But
that's kind of funny, Sam, because Angie just looks at me and throws her hands up like, "What are you going to say?"
Well, I mean, there has to be.
I just hate to brag. I'm not a bragger, but
hey, Jason, the record.
Big 5. I've won the Nationals twice. I've won the Junior Nationals twice. It's just Sam, I've been fortunate in this, in this format. I've had great dogs gave to me, and I've ran them up, as young dogs. But I hate to say that people call it the GOAT or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't consider myself that. I consider myself a competitor.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a very modest answer, and maybe why you are the GOAT. I'm not sure, but I will tell you this: your record is very impressive, and I know a lot of times we'll talk about pedigrees of the hounds and what winning this hound or what this hound has won in its lifetime, and it's nice to throw in kind of the pedigree of the owner and handler sometimes, and share a little bit about what they've been able to accomplish. So I just wanted to get that out there so folks that are listening kind of know the caliber of people that we have on with us today. And so I'm gonna roll that right into Angie and ask her, Angie, are you the GOAT? I mean, the greatest of all time in the UKC bench show arena? I mean, I've heard that too. And I know you've won. I mean, you can't argue with the results here. You
can't argue with the results.
So I mean, you've won at the highest level. So could you tell us a little bit about the history of you and some of these big wins that you've had?
Yeah. So I don't feel like I'm a GOAT. I feel old, but I don't feel like I'm a GOAT. Sam, I've been blessed. I've had some great people in my life who have given me some great hounds and trusted me, to show these hounds. And I've won some pretty big hunts and or shows. Sorry, and I've just been fortunate. But I've won the world. I've won nationals a couple times with a couple different dogs. I've won the Eliminator with 3 different dogs, and NHBA overall shows for the year. I've won that, and also won with the McVeigh. I consider that a pretty big hunt as well with the amount of dogs in the show. And my very first dog that I showed and won the Eliminator with was a dog named Moonshine, and that dog was from the late Don McVeigh, and the dog was out of Fire River Lacey and Strongbow Briar Hill Buster. And then the late Audie Burke gave me a little bit of Mayhem, which is out of Magic Mike and Burke's Treasure of Diamonds. Mayhem is my dog. Hands down, the best dog I've ever owned, hunt and show. And, he was a champion at 10 months old. He is the one that has won every one of the big shows that I mentioned. And he's my buddy. We hang out a lot together. And then after Audie passed away, Marie, his wife, she couldn't take care of all the dogs that Audie had, and she called us and asked us to take Burke's Little Miss Molly, which is a litter mate to Mayhem. And I wanted to continue what Audie had started in the show, and I took her, won the Nationals, the Eliminator. She won some NHBA hunts, and so she's just come along really well too. And so I don't know that I would call myself a GOAT, but I've been pretty blessed.
Again, a very modest answer. I really appreciate that. And full disclosure to the listeners, I have hunted with Mayhem, and I thought he did a really nice job. We hunted in fairly tough conditions, I believe, up in Tennessee, hanging off the side of mountains. And the thing I remember about the hunt was being out of breath, and I don't know who was more out of breath, Angie or me. I really don't know. But we were doing some climbing that day. And that was a good hunt. I had some good memories. So, Angie, you've kind of answered my next question, which was I was going to ask you about some of your favorite hounds, and it sounds like Mayhem's probably your number one, and then his littermate sister is maybe on your list too. Are there any others that you have that kind of stick out to you, or those would be the ones you would answer with?
Yeah, definitely Mayhem's my most precious. Molly and Moonshine are pretty close seconds. But there was a dog that I started with right after I started, going to the hunts, and Dale got us into those hunts, and we started traveling and hunting. I wanted to hunt my own dog. I was tired of following Jason around through all the hunts and with his dogs. So Marshall Collins gave me a dog. They called him Scar. And I'm telling you, that dog, I think I had the most fun with him starting out in the hunts. And he wasn't show material at all. He was just a hunt dog and had a blast, when I was younger hunting him. And unfortunately, we were pleasure hunting out at Taylor County, and he crossed the 4-lane and got hit by a car. And it took us 7 days to find him. He was still alive. He had a broken right hip. And we took him to the vet. We got it pinned. It was my first dog. I was going to do whatever I could. And we got it pinned, and it started overhealing. So we ended up having to have his leg amputated. And I'll never forget Marshall Collins and I talking about that. And he said, what in the world is wrong with you? He said, putting all that money into that dog. He said, what were you thinking? I said, well, I was thinking he's my buddy, and I need to take care of him. So Marshall just chuckled and went on. But I would say that's the 4 hounds for me.
Well, Jason, how about you? Kind of the same answer there, or same question. What would have been some of your favorite hounds over the years?
I personally have probably 4, Sam. My first one would be the original dog that I started off with hunting was Jason's May. And then when I really got hooked up with Dale, when he started breeding Fire River Michael and White River Lulu, then I got into a couple of those dogs, and I had one named White River Ramblin' Rose, and she ended up getting second in the very first world. The following year, she wins the world show title. She was a grand at 14 months old, and she also won the Nationals in 2001. And right after that, and I was like, I just retired her. And the next one would have been White River Rusty. It would have been a litter after Rose. That he was probably the most dominant running track dog that I've seen in a while. I mean, he was a little rough up front, but my all-time dog was something that I've bred on my own, and her name was White River Isabella. She was out of Rusty and Kyle Cheslock's Annie dog, and we bred her twice, and every dog out of the litter became a grand, and she ended up placing down there. I think she got second in the world in Tennessee. She also won the Nationals, and she won before, they had an East and West eliminator. She got second in the eliminator, and but she was probably my all-time all-around jump dog, run up front. I mean, she was the dog when I went to a hunt. I did not expect to lose with that dog.
Wow, those sound like some very dominant hounds, for sure. That's a heck of a list for both of you guys.
And I have one now that she's got a litter of puppies on her, Star, Heat 'em Up Superstar. She's dual Hall of Fame, and she's probably right there on the same tree limb of what Izzy was. She's just a natural jump dog that runs up front, man. She runs clean, and that's my style anymore. Used to, I'd want them rough as a cob, Sam, but now I don't like missing lines anymore. It's too hard to come back.
Well, both of you guys have been doing this for a while. Both of you have been very successful at the highest levels. You've hunted against some of the best hounds in the country. So I'd love to hear from both of you. What are some of those best hounds that you've competed against over the years? The ones that really caught your eye on a particular day that really stood out to you?
Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
Yeah, I can go. So for me, in the show, I would say the best hound that I've competed against in a long time was Valen Nelson's dog, Little Walnut Feeling Frisky. She is actually a litter mate to Mayhem, and she whipped my butt at the World Show. And I'm telling you, she was a nice hound, and you don't mind being beat by a good hound.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Sam, are we going back in some years, or are we talking present?
Hey, it's up to you. You tell me.
Well, I'll start in the present, or the past, I should say. Would probably be a dog, Maple River Levi, a dog out of Michigan, and I can't remember the old guy's name that owned this dog. And another dominant dog back in the day was Scotty's Gilbert Windstorm. I never did beat this dog. Never did. Could never beat this dog. The dog beat me every time. And then I would say present would probably be Cody Rucker's Gus dog, Heat 'em Up Gus, and Mitch Gould's Tika dog. Those are two right now that are pretty dominant hounds. And there's a little guy, young man up in Pennsylvania by the name of Emmett Lipke, running the dog called High Strung Crank. And this dog catches my eye every time I get to run with him.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some of the ones that really, past the present that catch my eye.
Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds like a good list too, and kind of keeping that same kind of train of thought maybe in mind. When you're looking at dogs and you're evaluating them, maybe you're thinking about adding one to your kennel, one that you want to promote, one that you want to breed to or get a puppy out of. Do you have a favorite bloodline, or maybe not a particular bloodline, but a cross of hounds that you like to see in a pedigree? I mean, I think about, Jason, you mentioned like maybe a little older cross, Michael Lulu, that kind of stuff, some of that little bit action for Angie. I'm not sure. But do you guys have favorite bloodlines that you like?
Sam, for me, there's two requirements for me when it comes to a hound. One is Vandergrift's requirement of me, and that's that the dog has to be able to hunt. The second is I want a good, solid show dog.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for good, strong conformation. Bloodline to me isn't as important as some, only because if it's a well-bred dog, it's probably got good conformation. And like I said, Vandergrift won't have a dog here that doesn't hunt. So I got to pay attention to that too.
That she does, Sam. That she does. And on me, Sam, like I said, it would go back to probably the White River bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of thing it's a thing of the past anymore. So now we're kind of on a little bit of Big Meadows and Mitch Gould's Heat 'em Up bloodline, and that's kind of everything that I'm running right now is either out of Trigger or Mitch's bloodline that goes back even to some of Bill McFarland's old female stuff. But I'm not kennel blind. I mean, if there's a bloodline out there that I like, I'm not scared to try something different.
Mm-hmm. This one's more for Angie, and then I've got one after that for Jason. But Angie, tell us a little about the National Hunting Beagle Association. Well, I was doing my homework on you. I understand that you were part of that founding leadership team, secretary-treasurer role, I believe is what you were helping them with initially. But could you tell us just a little bit about that organization and why people should support it? What do they do for houndsmen out there that should get people to either join or donate or just be active with NHBA?
Yeah, so Sam, I think it was 1999. when Dale Prenny approached me and said, "Hey, we're starting a National Hunting Beagle Association, and we would love for you to come and be part of it and help us out, as the secretary and treasurer." But Ed Chalfant really is the one that was the brains behind it, and he pulled Dale in, and between Ed and Dale, they really established the NHBA. And of course, we worked with UKC, and we got our charter complete and got some board members brought on. But Jason and I continue to be lifetime members of the NHBA, and the reason that we are is because the NHBA gives back to the hunters more than any organization that I've seen around. You want to talk prize packages at these big hunts like the World and Nationals and the Eliminator. They're just present at all the hunts when it comes to taking care of the hunters, and they have huge prize packages now. They also, I'm telling you, I've never seen an organization give back to the youth as much as I have the NHBA. Mm-hmm. They have a youth prize package now. They have a youth series that they support, and they're giving prizes away. They're giving Garmins away. They're giving dog food and cash and jackets and blankets with your dog's pictures on them. And it's just since 1999, it's come a long way. And yeah, we were in the establishment of it. But I'll tell you, the current crew that's running that now and have been running that for years upon years are just really knocking it out of the park, and they're doing a great job. Sign up if you're not already a member. Sign up. That's a way you can support this organization. You have to be a member to be eligible for the prize packages and things like that. But it does give back to the hunters. They're at every major event. Their board of directors and their secretary, treasurers, presidents, and vice presidents are all present, and they're very active in the hunt and the show. So definitely a top-notch organization. You can't say enough about them.
I tend to agree. I've have been able to kind of roam around and visit different registries and visit different hunting associations, whether it's coon hunting or just fill in the blank. But I think NHBA does do a very good job, and I was really impressed. I believe it's NHBA that also gives away scholarship dollars for kids too, to help them pay for school.
They do. That scholarship was actually started when Dale passed away. It's a Dale Prenny scholarship, and we give back to the youth that participate and hunt and show, and it helps them in their early years of college. And it's pretty special. You'll see the clubs donating money to the scholarship and individuals as well. Mm-hmm. So anything the hunters can do to pitch in and help with those scholarships, it's going back to our kids that are out there hunting and showing these dogs. So definitely come out and support them.
Well, thank you so much for sharing more about NHBA, and thank you for helping get it started back in the good old days. So thank you for your hard work. It certainly is a good organization. If people want to learn more about NHBA, Angie, what would they look? I mean, do they go on Facebook? Is there a website? Are there people they can contact?
Yeah, so there's an NHBA Facebook page. It's under the National Hunting Beagle Association. That'll have a good bit of information. Also, any of your large hunts, they're all present. President, vice president, they're all out there, promoting and are willing to give you as much information as you need. Alan Newby is the current president right now, and he would be a fantastic contact for anyone listening.
Very good. Well, thank you again for sharing a little more about that organization. Now, all right, Jason. So I'll put you on the hot seat here. If you could put together like a dream cast, sometimes I call this my Mount Rushmore question because it's kind of the four that you could chisel into the side of the mountain. What would be that dream cast of four hounds you would love to see go head to head? And these could be past or present, living or not, hounds.
Wow. Oh, man, Sam, that's a tough question right there. Definitely, for sure, my first dog would be, like I said, the dog out of Michigan, Maple River Levi. This male dog was the dominantest male dog that I've ever seen run yet to present to this day. I mean, I don't know how many cast wins this dog ever had, but he was dominant in the day. Mm-hmm. My next one would have to say I would pick my Izzy female. I would pick Mitch Gould's Tika dog, and I would throw Dave McVeigh's test dog in this because you have foot, you have track, you have all combined of four dogs right there that have jump, have running ability. To see who will win that cast, that would probably be a showdown.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you had to put your money and go to Vegas and bet on one of those to win, which one would you put your money on?
Well, I'd go with the dog from Michigan, Sam, hands down. Maple River Levi. Bernard Daly was the guy that owned him.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. This concludes part one of our two-part interview with Angie and Jason Vandergrift. Thank you for listening to Buff in the Rough, and remember to like and subscribe if you want to be notified when we have new content available. And please send comments and suggestions to buffintherough@gmail.com.